Hey, so welcome back to Minuteman Preparedness. I'm not going to do an intro today. Didn't even plan on doing a video, but late yesterday evening, I was on X looking over some of the open source intelligence groups that I follow, and I came across some information that was put out by another really good intelligence group called Command 11, and they're one of the groups that put out the information reference the March 18th information dealing with the possible hospital attack situation. Command 11, yeah, I'll just give you a little bit reference them. Command 11 is an intelligence and analysis firm. They are based in Pakistan with assets and analysis and researchers offering apolitical analysis on topics such as security, geopolitics, defense, and espionage. This group, they're based out of Pakistan, but there's a lot of high-level people that go with their intelligence. So reference the March 18th attack. Command 11 put this information out late yesterday evening on their X account, and they actually had it where you could download it and print it out. It's around 14 pages or so, 13, 14 pages, and I've went through and made some highlights on some information I wanted to go over with this. So again, this is dealing with the March 18th information that was put out, reference the hospital attacks. There's been additional information gathered from on-the-ground sources and analysis. So we're going to go through this real quick. And I'm going to be doing a lot of reading from this. Let's see. The threat assessment presented below is to advise and assist hospitals, trauma centers, in preparing for an upcoming terrorist attack orchestrated by the ISKP, which I'm going to just refer to them as that, but it stands for, and I'm going to butcher the middle part of this, the Islamic State Khorasan. It's KHORASAN province, so ISKP. As a prelude to a secondary attack by Al-Qaeda. This assessment has been reviewed and discussed by numerous individuals as part of our intelligence advisory network, including Orange Diamond Consulting Group, Transatlantic Intelligence Consortium, Sarah Adams, which is Superbad, and Ron Jost. So, you've got other groups and individuals that have went through this information and, kind of signed off on it. So, stating here, the bottom line up front is that hospitals and Tier 1 trauma centers are being targeted by attacks by ISKP. The targeting is focused on mid-tier cities around the United States and Canada. The attacks will be multi-city and simultaneously carried out. So they're going to hit multiple locations at the same exact time. Let's see, intelligence credibility. The credibility of this information is high. The intelligence was gathered by Command 11 human intelligence assets inside ISKP province training camps in Afghanistan and Pakistan. These assets have been providing information since the end of January, but intelligence became more detailed starting mid-February and continues to flow in to intelligence classification centers. This information has been reviewed in detail, compared, and additional intelligence gathered from other sources, classified based on credibility, and sorted into understandable information that has first passed to external analysis that coordinates with Command 11. then passed on to law enforcement and intelligence agencies in the United States. Second, there are already numerous terrorist sleeper cells already inside the United States and Canada. Now, I'm not going to be reading all of this. I'm going to just kind of be jumping to the bullet points here. Their estimations based on chatter within the camps is roughly 30 to 50 operational sleeper cells within the United States and Canada at this time, with more cells being created weekly. Therefore, it should be clear that this attack will be carried out by terrorists who are already in the United States, not individuals attempting to infiltrate the United States currently. SITREP, let's see here. The U.S. security has been seriously compromised due to the Biden open borders policy. Second tier was also infiltrated into the United States via manufactured passports. Now, I don't know if I talked about this last time, but I have heard about some of this information. I've looked into it and read up on it some. There are some passports that were created, fraudulent passports that were created by some groups. Apparently, they're extremely authentic, and one of the best ways of determining a group of people coming in with these fraudulent passports is by the date of birth. And there was one other area to look at on those passports, but that information has already been passed off. Reference that. And honestly, I mean, I'm not going to be looking at somebody's passport, and probably most of you all aren't either, so that's really doesn't have a whole lot to do with us. That's more of Customs and Border Protection. Let's see. Excuse me. Let's see here. These terrorists have taken safe haven in predominantly high Muslim population areas, university campuses, and suburbs of mid-tier cities where movement can be easily made for reconnaissance and surveillance purposes. The following links have been identified. Hospitals that have been targeted via cyber attacks or ransomware have also been targeted with surveillance and attempts to breach test security protocols. Since the alert on the 18th, numerous reports have been received of suspicious individuals have been seen, captured on video, and interacted with hospital staff members inquiring about hospital security protocols. And I didn't write this down. I was going through this, got it printed off this morning, but apparently I was reading there was a hospital, and I can't remember where it was. I wish I would have written it down. There were 6 individuals that were dressed in black and went to a hospital. They attempted to gain entry into authorized access area, personnel only areas, and when questioned by security, multiple individuals gave different reasoning for why they were there. Some of the reasons were, one stated they were moving to the area and they just wanted to check out the hospital. Another one stated they had a family member that needed medical treatment, and they just kind of wanted to look at the facility and see if it was somewhere they wanted to bring them. And there was another one that stated they were an investor group. Well, all of these individuals came together in a group, and they gave different reasons for why they were there. So the clothing, all of them coming together. When stopped by staff, security staff, they all gave different reasons why they were there. Attempted entry into authorized personnel only access points. And then when asked for identification by security, they all refused and they left together. I do believe security was able to get the registration plate number of that vehicle, and that's as much as I know about that. Let's see here and this was pretty interesting. On March 2nd, jihadi groups circulated a graphic with U.S. hospitals circled in red with the title, "Soft Flesh Awaits." If that just doesn't make you feel great about going to the hospital, or honestly any other type of situation. A lot of this is based on hospitals, but There has also been some other talk that, yeah, the hospitals, could be the big thing here, but also, other soft targets such as hospitals, sporting events, large gatherings, outdoor gatherings, anything like that, and especially with churches, with Easter right around the corner, that's a major holiday for us Christians. And, I'm just throw this out there. If you're a member of a church or if you're on a church security team, you need to be paying attention on Easter and, this upcoming Sunday too, prior to Easter. You need to be on the lookout for people conducting surveillance, suspicious individuals hanging around, suspicious vehicles, odd behavior, people asking odd questions. This doesn't mean that we don't, we lock the church down and, don't let anybody come, because that's what terrorists want. They want you to lock everything down. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. We're going to keep our churches open, but we have to be cautious and pay attention. And like I'm on my church security team, and we have quite a very robust security team and infrastructure, and we do a lot of different things. And I would implore you, if you attend church and you don't have a security team, you talk to some of, pastoral staff or administration, try to get something like that set up to where you can provide some safety and security for the congregation. But back to this, off that little tirade there for a second. Let's see. There have been a number of tests that have been carried out testing the following. First responder response times, which first responders respond. So it's law enforcement, typically first on scene, fire, EMS, things like that. And reaction of the general public in real time to determine additional attack opportunities. So that would be something like you go to a sporting arena and you set off the fire alarms. You want to see the response. How does staff act? How does security act? What do they do? Where do they go? Where do they push the people out to? Where are those areas? And I thought about this a lot when I was in high school. Whenever we would have a fire drill, they had specific areas, and all schools do, businesses too, specific areas where they push everybody out, where they can get everyone safely away, from the building, and where they can conduct their accountability, their head counts and all those type of things. I always thought about, what if this wasn't, this fire drill, not a fire drill, but the fire alarm was pulled, and we're all being pushed out to the same place every time. If somebody wanted to do something, like a mass casualty situation, this is what they would do. They would pull that fire alarm, push us all out. They would know exactly where we're going. And then they could emerge, from the ample hiding areas where I went to school. They could emerge, they could have, pipe bombs or, any type of, improvised explosive devices out there. And I was thinking about this in high school. What if this is happening? What would I do? Where would I go? How would I react? That's kind of what they're talking about. What is the reaction of the public if something like this would happen? Where does the public flow to? That way they can determine, all right, we're going to do an attack here. We know when we do said attack, the majority of the people here are going to flow out in this direction to this courtyard or this parking lot. So this is the area we need to have, explosive devices, or we need to have additional personnel over here, to carry out an attack. So that's kind of what they're talking about here. One key term that they have been able to identify is that the hospitals have been targeted with cyber attacks or ransomware attacks, have also been targeted with surveillance or reconnaissance. They have included a list of known cyber and ransom attacks in an appendix. We're going to skip some of this information here. Let's see, I know I did make, okay. So potential attack scenarios based on human intelligence that has been gathered and confirmed. They've been able to identify 3 different potential attack models, that being the 11/26 Mumbai attack, the 10/7 Israel attack, and the 3/3 Mahim Germany attack. And again, based on conversations in the terror camps in Afghanistan and Pakistan, the attack scenarios will start with a VBID, which is a vehicle-borne explosive device, and breach the main level of the building. Breach the main level of the building and detonating. Following a small assault attack, taking control of the hospital with hostages, including high ground for snipers against law enforcement and first responders. This will be a multi-city coordinated attack designed to hit the U.S. at weak security points with the highest psychological impact, being hospitals. We, being Command 11, believes, based on intelligence chatter, that we are receiving the attack will be a mixture of both and I'm going to highlight this because I'm going to pass this information off, the Mumbai and, I'm sorry if I'm butchering this name over in Germany, Manheim attacks. And I went and I'd heard of those attacks, but I didn't know a whole lot about them. So I made some notes here. The Mumbai attack, that attack consisted of shootings and bombings that lasted over a 4-day period. There were 12 shooting and bombing attacks within that certain area. There was 175 people killed, 9 of those being attackers, and 300 people were injured. The attack in Germany consisted of a vehicle being driven into a crowd. Luckily, there were not as many fatalities with that. There were a few, but not as many as in Mumbai. Impacts. For an intelligence and terrorism official, mid-tier cities present the hardest targets to protect and identify potential threats. A mid-tier city is defined as those cities whose population falls between 100,000 and 500,000 residents, making them large enough to maintain a level 1 trauma center, but lack the security of metropolitan cities such as DC, New York City, Los Angeles. And then I've got a list here of the mid-tier cities that have Trauma 1 hospitals in them, Trauma 1 Center hospitals. If you have an X account, excuse me, or Twitter, go over to Command 11. You can pull this up. I'll name off a few of these, but there's quite a bit. You've got Birmingham, Tempe, Arizona, Pasadena, Modesto, San Diego, Colorado Springs. Let's see, Fort Myers, St. Petersburg, Boise, Wichita, St. Louis, Grand Rapids, Rochester, Omaha, Trenton, New Jersey, Raleigh, North Carolina, Albuquerque, Albany, Buffalo, let's see, Dayton, Columbus, Toronto, Tulsa, York, Pennsylvania, Nashville and Knoxville, Tennessee, Austin, Texas, College Station, Texas, Houston, Texas, a lot in Texas, Arlington, Richmond, Virginia, Madison, Milwaukee, and Marshfield. First 2 were in Wisconsin, Marshfield, Washington, Spokane, Washington. There's a few more there I didn't call out, but you can go over to them and pull that information up. Okay, here, I was looking for this earlier. I didn't see it. So with the passports, even though that doesn't really have a whole lot to do with us, those passports that were questionable had a date of birth of 1161 and 1231. So those were the ones that were in question. Why mid-tier cities? Because they're soft targets. Why still populous and symbolically important, usually lack the same level of protection as, higher tier population centers. Let's see here. Maximum disruption. Attacks in these cities will still generate significant media coverage and public fear by striking locations that are not typically seen as likely targets. Terrorists can amplify the psychological impact and spread anxiety across a wider region. Mid-tier cities are often representative as like the heartland of our country. Operational logistics. These cities have infrastructure and transportation hubs that can be exploited for logistical support as targets cause broader disruption within the need for high-profile elements and large urban centers. Additional points: hospitals and trauma centers make, high-casualty targets, smaller law enforcement budgets than larger cities, which prohibits funding for counterterrorism. Sometimes, SRT, special response teams, or SWAT teams. Advanced surveillance. Surveillance technology and tactical countermeasures. Low federal presence. Disrupt daily American life. And symbolic targets that strike fear nationwide. Then we have a run over for things that hospitals need to do. I would also say, schools also. And just quick rundown real quick, what they're talking about in this page and a half is that security staff needs to train more. They need to be more observant, especially of the entrances and exits, fire exits, loading docks. They need to pay attention to what's going on there. They need to either install or update CCTV in those areas. They need to be reviewing that footage of what's going on there. They need to make sure that authorized personnel entry areas, the doors are, secure and locked, and that people that are in those areas have their badges, they have their identification badges on, and that they conduct badge checks on those individuals, and that they need to pay attention to what's going on around them, and that they need to have protocols and SOP or SOG in line to deal with these types of situations. You could also carry that over to a school system, making sure that all the exterior doors and windows are shut and locked at all times. The gates around the facilities are locked, that those doors, windows, gates, and fencing are constantly checked. The CCTV is in line, and that administration and staff inside of that facility always have their school or government issued identification, photo identification needs to be on and visible at all times, and it needs to be checked by personnel that needs to be checking that. There has been quite a lengthy list of cyber attacks, swatting attacks, and kinetic attacks against hospitals. I went over some of these in the last video. I'll see if I can link that video in with this one, dealing with the March 18th information. So if you haven't watched that, go back and watch that, because I hit on the earlier information to this. This is just the secondary information that has come out from that. So if you don't have an X account, make one. I use it just for looking at information. Swing by COMMANDELEVEN, their page on X. You can pull up that information, look it over. There's also a lot of really good open source intelligence information on X from reputable intelligence groups. So I would suggest going on there and, gathering some information for yourself. Pay attention. I check it several times a day, read over what's being pushed out. So keep your eyes open. Pay attention to what's going on around you. Situational awareness. If you're, going to a large gathering, outdoor gathering, sporting event, pay attention. Know where your exits are, the entry points, exit points, know where your vehicle is parked, pay attention what's going on in the parking lot, pay attention to the people and things that are going on inside of that facility. But, continue with your everyday lives. Don't lock yourself down, but be cautious and pay attention. But with that, stay safe. Have a great day, and Minuteman out.